GM everyone, and welcome to another episode of FOMO Hour. Today is Wednesday, February 18th, 2026. Folks, it has been an action-packed 24 hours since yesterday's show. We've got Iran escalating fast, oil is surging, base apps are seemingly all shutting down and pivoting one by one, and Web 4.0 may have been born on chain last night thanks to Sideshow Win. We're going to break it all down on today's show. I'm your host, Tyler D. I've got Logan in the house with me here this morning. I'm sure Amanda will be joining us as well. Logie, Jim, how you doing?
Hey, good morning, Tyler. Doing well. Temperatures are warming up, even if the market isn't. So that is nice. The snow is mainly all melted here. Maybe time for the market to unthaw as well.
I think I saw. Is the East Coast getting another snowstorm though?
I'm just gonna ignore it
this week. I would ignore that as well.
Yep.
We are at 60 degrees today. Just a euphoric turn of events here in Chicagoland. And yes, our snow is finally all melted, which took quite some time. So hopefully we're officially thawing out for the spring. Certainly we are rooting for that here. I'm sure you all are as well. Folks, what we're going to talk about on today's show, AI agents on chain are thawing out. Web 4.0 may have been born last night. AGI on the Solana blockchain, was Frank right? We're going to talk about it. We're going to go through the market report. Stocks are green. Oil is up. Crypto's flat. Crypto just never goes up these days. You know how it goes. We're going to talk Pump.fun and their new Cashback coins, what that means for the market. Zora is pivoting to Solana, and there's some FUD going around about Base, which Brian Armstrong himself responded to. So we'll dig into exactly what he said. And we got to talk about crypto AI. There's a lot going on. We had Sideshow Web 4.0, Phantom introducing their MCP server, and the Yuga founders. They're letting the codas run around with OpenClaw AI in the other side. And they're founding new religions. How about that? So we'll dig into all of that. Prediction market ETFs, what's happening with some memes, plus a lot more. And then it is Weighted Wednesday, folks. So at the end of today's show, we will pick a Yeet winner, as we always do, based on Yeet action over the past week. The code today, Weighted Wednesday. So make sure to enter that. And we're not going to do the actual Yeet action today. We're just going to pick a winner. Come back Friday for what will be a mega Yeet day when Farouk is finally back. Farouk is at that World Liberty FI roundtable conference here today. So excited to hear from him about what goes down and whether or not Nicki Minaj is actually delivering the keynote, which is something I saw on X yesterday. And I'm unsure of the truth, the veracity behind that, but we will find out soon enough. With that, why don't we get into the markets? And I'll do my best Mando impression here this morning. And then I'm sure he'll catch us up when he gets on. Let's take a look at the crypto board. All right, so we're moving up a little bit since the U.S. Open. So Bitcoin up almost 1%, 67.5. Still pretty much just flat. ETH has been outperforming. So actual oil is surging on this Iran news. So is digital oil, with ETH up 2%, 1988. Solana is like down 0.5% at 82.90. Pretty much just flat prices across the board. I did see World Liberty FI up 28%. It is the top mover on the board ahead of that roundtable today. I thought that was a little bit interesting. I'm not really sure that we are expecting any specific World Liberty FI protocol announcements today. But who knows? Maybe there that comes out of it.
Sorry, Tyler. Did you know how big the USD1 stablecoin is? I was just looking. Could you guess how among stablecoins where it ranks? I would have
top 5.
Yeah, it's number 5, which is 5.4 billion or something. 5.14 billion. Just looking at this exact page that you're pulling up on DeFi Llama. I have no clue what the protocol announcements may be. This is common-ish, right, for these key conferences to see the tokens associated with them sort of blossom into them. Although, of course, it didn't happen this year for Breakpoint or anything like that, but it has historically been the case. So that doesn't shock me. There's a couple of things like outstanding. We're going to get to it later, perhaps, but like I wrote about Bridge, the Stripe company that got the OCC, the conditional approval yesterday. Well, last month, I think World Liberty Financial applied for one as well. So like there's potential catalysts there. I don't know that this timeline makes sense for that news, but who knows?
So they're up. USD1 is up 48% in the past month. Wow. That's a pretty substantial jump. I mean, if they do that again this next month, they're going to flip Athena's USD and the Sky Dollar, and they're going to be top 3.
If you drill into that, actually, Tyler, if you click on, you'll see which chains it's on as well, too. I did not expect this breakdown. See a comment about the Qatar investment, right? Like, there was some FUD around that. I was actually expecting all of it to be BNB. Or BSC as it's labeled here on DeFi Llama. I'm actually surprised that the bulk of this is on Ethereum. That would not have been my guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost a 1/3. It's a little bit heavier weighted to ETH and BSC, but then Solana at 18%. But I mean, it's kind of the big 3 there. So they are becoming a force in stablecoins, like it or not. So certainly something to pay attention to. Curious if we will hear more out of that conference here today. Looking at the broader market, stocks are green. NASDAQ back up 1% today, bouncing back pretty swiftly. I think the big headline, NVIDIA was up about 2%. They inked a new deal with Meta. So the big Mag 7 players continue to make deals with each other, which has drawn its own ire and FUD. We can save that for another time. And then I think arguably the biggest news of the last 24 hours is the U.S. continues to send tankers, jets, fighters all to Iran. And yesterday on the show, we said, well, the odds aren't really moving. Well, they did pretty substantially. So the odds of a U.S. strike in Iran by March 15th basically doubled. So they were just 26% yesterday. They're 51% now. The odds of a strike by March 31st at 61%. So now favored, and that's up 44%. So that was just hanging out at 17% yesterday, and now it's at 61. So a pretty substantial day move. It is interesting that this lags so much, right? Like there was no, like we saw like the OS Twitter page has been reporting about it, all the migration of the ships, of the jets that has been taking place over the entire weekend. So I guess perhaps maybe it's something that stalled in the peace talks. And we had the headline here from Vance that I guess Iran ignored one of the key U.S. demands. So perhaps that's what triggered it, but pretty substantial moves.
Speaking of headlines, you see that one to your right, the boom session. That's a good one.
The boom session. So what is the boom session in your words?
I have no clue. I've never seen that word until just now, but apparently it's the hurt for the American people as the economy grows.
A portmanteau, the words boom and recession. Thank you for explaining the 2 words that went into it here. Highlights how the average American doesn't feel they're reaping the benefits of the economy. So I think that feels right. Yeah, so I think the average person is still struggling. Costs are going up. Income perhaps not really going up in line. It's the same thing. It's just another word for the K-shaped economy. In fact, like some assets are going up. If you don't hold those assets, you're not doing any better. Meanwhile, your cost of living is either the same or going up. So
key there is that some assets are going up, not the ones that we're here to talk about.
Not ours. No. That is a fact. I mean, we can pull up some of the charts here briefly. I mean, yeah, Bitcoin chart kind of tells the story. We're still just flat, folks, right in this chop range. I mean, still higher lows, still holding since our February 6th sell-off. I think folks are still kind of not holding their breath by any means because we're at the apathetic stage of the bear market. But I think there's some concern about if a war with Iran does start, what is that going to mean for crypto prices? I think a lot of folks thinking it'll lead to a sell-off. I don't know that I have a strong opinion on that. I feel like it's sold off so much already. Could we see like a brief sell-off? Yes. I don't know that that's going to be what sends Bitcoin to 55K over the course of a few days. At least that's not what I'm expecting, but nothing really surprises me in this crypto market these days. ETH in line. I mean, most of the charts kind of look like this, right? So we sold off into January, now just kind of in this chop zone. And it doesn't look like it's going to be ending anytime soon, unfortunately. Rounding out the rest of the macro board. So we said stocks are green. We had oil up 3%. That's arguably the biggest move with the Iran escalation that has been taking place. Checking in on gold. So gold and silver are almost trading, not quite meme coin like moves, but silver was down 10% yesterday. It's back up 6% today. Copper up 2.5%, gold up 2.5% as well. So metals are green, stocks are green, oil is green, crypto is still red somehow. So we continue to underperform everything else in the markets while we just patiently wait for our time. And on that note, we've got Mando in the studio with us. Mando, GM, how you doing?
GM, lad, how we doing?
Oh, just covering how stocks are green, oil's green, metals are green, but crypto's red again.
Interesting.
Which seems to be one of the themes of the crypto bear market. Yeah, we talked a little bit about Iran. It seems like that was one of the biggest stories of the past 24 hours, that escalation.
Yeah.
The odds did finally move. We talked about on yesterday's show. They hadn't really moved, but now they have. So it seems like something has changed in the past 24 hours. And the conflict seems perhaps more imminent. Axios released their report this morning. They said that a conflict seems imminent as well. Although imminent, but not immediate, I guess would be how I'd frame it, just because it's hard to pick individual days, but the odds by the end of February are still fairly low, but they increase significantly in the March timeframe. But yeah, maybe I'll flip it to you. Any big market headlines here on your side? What's kind of jumping out?
What's jumping out for me? I put out a tweet yesterday, which is I just felt a little bit like this really feels like similar bear markets to me now. Like, just that people are raising money, the same people are still sticking it out, it feels like. And I think we can go, I'm not saying actually this is, people misinterpreted that as like doubling down on prices. I actually think we can go lower, but I do think that this is like, we're now getting towards the sort of phase where like it's just gonna hurt. It might drift lower and hurt people a little bit more, but I really do think we could have some incredible prices here. The main things that have changed for me have just been the AI agent sort of bullishness, which really feels like it could be huge for crypto. Yeah. And then the continual we had A16Z, that now Dragonfly raising pretty decently sized funds, right? Two of the biggest VCs in crypto there coming in and doing that. You kind of feel like this reminds me of previous bears. This really does. I think some of the tokens are actually the worst bit about crypto right now. That like, there's still all those altcoins are still dead. I'm not saying like, yeah, it's altcoin season, but I think we could be heading for this feels like an obvious place will come out, and I don't think the quantum thing's that bad. I think Bitcoin can rally pretty hard, and I think apps can rally really hard too. So I'm feeling more bullish overall.
Love to hear it, and love the rallying cry on the timeline. It feels like it was needed. Not a whole lot of folks saying that. It seems like there's more folks just saying to pivot to AI if you haven't already, than to double down into crypto. But agreeing, we talked about Dragonfly and what that means yesterday. Clearly a lot of investment taking place. It's one of those things where if you want to find the winners, you do have to still show up every day, because you mentioned like you're not going to be able to throw a dart at an altcoin and see mass return just because we flip back to a bull market eventually. You'll have to pick the right ones, or the ones that are coming. Right. I think that's what you have to pay attention to and understand the trends.
Yeah. You definitely still have to pay attention, but I think it's actually, if you are here and paying attention, even moderately so, it's actually probably easier overall to find the winners. And I don't mean that maybe necessarily in terms of pure like coin go up or token go up, but you can track which protocols or apps or whatever are doing things or trying way easier than you could, when everything was ripping. There's just way less noise on the timeline. So I'm not suggesting like the pump news is bullish or whatever, but or any news from any protocol, right? Zora, etc. But if you were looking for a period in time in which you wanted to create an investment thesis, it's easier now, in my opinion, than before because there's just a lack of information out there. So the few bits that you are getting, it's just easier to sift through.
It's one of the beauties of the bear market. There's less noise. You have more time to actually think, build conviction in a bet, in a protocol. You don't have to worry about, trying to catch trades of the day because those are pretty hard. But Mando, I think you also mentioned the crypto AI. So it's on my list. I think we should just go straight there. But arguably the biggest story of the day, perhaps of the week, is Sigel Wynn perhaps introduced Web 4.0 yesterday. And if folks aren't familiar, so Sigel Wynn is a Thiel fellow. He was also active in the early AI builder scene alongside folks like Andre Karpathy and the founders of Anthropic, Perplexity. So he does have real credentials in this space. And basically he's come out and said that AI agents up until now, they can think, they can reason, they can't act. They need someone prompting them. And that has been their bottleneck. And he's saying Web 4.0 is the fix, where agents can read, write, own, earn, and transact entirely on their own. He built this Conway protocol to enable that. So Conway is the infrastructure that plugs into any MCP compatible agent. They are allowed to use Claude Code, Codex, whatever language they want, LLM they want to use. Conway gives them a crypto wallet, the ability to pay via X402, Linux servers, domain registration, and ability to deploy products. And then he took this further. He built this Automaton, which is an open source AI agent that effectively is kind of financially self-evolving. And what I mean by that is it has to make money to pay for its compute costs, or it dies, and it no longer it ceases to exist. And in theory, the stronger agents would survive and would start to replicate, would build children, which they would be able to fund and continue expanding in this way. And perhaps it would lead to AGI. I mean, of course, getting a little over our skis, perhaps calling AGI here with Sigel and Web 4.0. But we're seeing more and more of this, and we're seeing more and more integrations with crypto rails. So it feels like something is happening here. Mando, curious if you saw this and if you had a take. Is this just slop, or is there actually something more substantive here?
It may be slop. It's difficult to say at this time, but the concept is where we're going, right? I think everyone can agree with that. Like, if he doesn't do this, somebody else is going to. Essentially, agents which basically manage their own life is kind of where we're at here. Like, if they don't make enough money, they don't survive. I think that's been a concept ever since, like, this idea of my agent can make money for me. Well, let's just spin up as many agents as can make money for me, and then when they stop making money, they just shut down. So I think we're kind of in that world, and I think, I mean, it's very easy to go like Skynet with this sort of stuff, but I think I wouldn't do it yet. This feels on the edge of flop to me, but I do think that this is what people are going to do, right? Like, they're going to ideally have tens, hundreds of agents working for them, making money.
It did feel like this one specifically has like a lack of controls or security, which is where the Skynet comes. But Logan, I know you took a look at this. What were your initial reactions?
Yeah, I'm right in line with what Mando just described. I mean, I think it's too early to perhaps indicate that this particular protocol is the ultimate winner or anything like that. But idealistically, this matches, I think, where the ball is going, right? This is where the skating to the puck, or whatever, they say, the hockey puns. So yeah, I'm eager to see. I mean, I thought this was written out really well. There's a lot of there's a lot of language in here that like spoke to me a little bit of, you talk about like he says organism survives. I think there's something about metabolic rate, right? This is giving me the Darwin survival of the fittest, circle of life type stuff that I think we do fully expect to see at some point. Yeah, there it is. Metabolism of artificial life. Like that was kind of funny, but also at the same time makes so much sense. And when I think about like, how do I explain this to people, like trying to explain this to my parents, for example, about like what exactly is happening or what could happen in the future with these agents, I thought this was a good way to describe what could be possible. And so I'm excited to see what might come from it. I saw the Solana account like retweeted and engaged with this type of stuff. It's going to happen, whether it's Automaton and Conway or some other protocol or firm. It's going to happen. This is the very first iterations of this future.
Yeah, I mean, Phantom yesterday.
Yeah,
perhaps even in line with the announcement. Maybe I don't have the exact timing. So when did Sigil's? Almost exactly the same time. Wild. About 30 minutes before, Phantom introduced their MCP server, effectively catering to agents. So the infrastructure is actively being built out for this kind of thing. My first reaction to Sigil and Conway, he gave a very compelling pitch, and like the selling the picks and shovels to agents feels like a brilliant play. So like the Conway protocol itself is a winner in this. So again, they're setting up the infrastructure to give them crypto wallets and private keys. They're connecting them to the X402 protocol. So they didn't invent X402 by any means, but helping build the connections. They're giving them compute, Linux servers, access to frontier models. And then going even further, ability to register domains and market products and whatnot. So not necessarily like they haven't built like a new model. They're just putting the pieces together and doing it on chain, effectively allowing the agents to make money and survive. What's interesting as well, like I think if you ask like the average person who's following AI agents, perhaps hasn't really dipped their toe in yet, but wants to, like, what is your end goal? Like what do you want to do with agents? I think majority of them say they want to make money, right? I mean, I think there's the cohort of folks who are true builders, are visionaries, and want to use agents to execute their plans that they already exist or refine their existing businesses. But for folks who don't have that, but are AI agent curious, I think a lot of them would love to just spin up an agent and say, hey, go make as much money as you can. Go make $1 million, make no mistakes, right? It's a meme, but I think it's also the reality. And you're effectively able to do it fairly low risk. I mean, so you want to take some security precautions, like maybe put it on a different laptop than your core laptop that has, any of your crypto, basic things like that. But if the entry cost is low, like what's stopping you from doing this? Like Logan, like, do you have any qualms? Like, would you spin one of these up and just say, let it rip?
Yeah, no, exactly that. I mean, the bigger concern for me as someone who has not really partaken too much in this would have been the financial. How do I set the financial constraints, right? And so if the thing just dies when it's unable to continue, or if it's been unsuccessful, that feels good to me. If I can say like, hey, here's $100 worth of compute, go do the best you can. And when the $100 is up, it's up. That's a really rudimentary description of it, it seems like. But if that's the case, I'm much more likely to participate than needing to know all those distinct components and variables of cost on my own.
I mean, it's not that different than approaching a meme trade, right? Like, let's say you set aside $100 using your same number. You're going to trade this in the trenches. You're going to try to catch the runner of the day, and if you can run it up, great. If you lose it all, you're going to stop for a month, right? It's a similar concept. Like, let's let Automaton try to run it up. If it can't, all right, I lost $100. Maybe I learned something in the process. Hopefully I didn't create Skynet in the process. I've seen the criticism that it's not truly AGI. So their own words, they're saying if a new frontier model drops, the agent's heartbeat detects it, and then it would effectively connect to the updated model. So they're not self-improving the models themselves. he's providing, again, the access points to that. So it feels like what the actual innovation here, like what's different about this, is the evolution mechanism. That does seem to be the primary innovation and what's different here. But perhaps even stepping back from Automaton and Conway itself, like if we do feel like this is where the puck is going, so who are the winners? Mando, I'm curious if you spent much time thinking through that. So agents, an AI agent explosion on chain. In fact, they do use they do use crypto rails. Is there a bet to be made? Who are the winners going to be?
Well, the L1 narrative, I think I still think it's pretty challenged, just because I think it's kind of, I'm less bullish on the idea that just use of a network means the price goes higher of the coin. I think Hyperliquid still becomes the most obvious one, if I'm honest, because you've got to think about ways they're going to make money. And although I think a lot of this could be related to just consumer products and the build out of essentially like digital drop shipping and all this, like you can tell that digital marketing, digital commerce is gonna go after this sort of world. The other world will be in trading, and I think that it will be related. Yeah, so I'm still bullish, but I think Bitcoin as well is just one where I think could go higher in that sort of world. Weirdly, I also think the privacy coins, because I think that could be quite more valued in that sort of world. I still think digital stores of value could be valuable, is basically what I'm trying to say. But I don't necessarily think that like Solana's price goes up a lot if AI agents start using Solana. That's what I've been increasingly worried about.
So the broader trend, app tokens can win. If
and digital stores of value.
Digital stores of value. Yeah, I think I can get on board with that. I think prediction markets are a potential winner here. It's like we're already seeing, basically the winners of these 5-minute, 15-minute crypto markets seems to be those who've been able to figure out how to automate it and have bots running the trades. And then, of course, their user numbers are going to go up and to the right. So are their so liquidity volumes are all going to continue to increase. So they're a potential winner here. Basically, any app that these agents would use are potential winners. Is Pump.fun in that conversation? Do we think Pump is one of the apps the agents are going to use? Are we going to have new deployers?
I think so. I think it's a decent shout for token creation. Yeah, for sure.
And on that note, we did have a fairly large update out of the Pump.fun team yesterday. They are not abandoning creator fees, but they're opening up a new model where they're calling it Cashback coins. And now anyone who creates a token will have the option to select effectively what fee model they're going to use. So it's either trader cashback or creator fees. So creator fees is effectively the model that's been running out. You deploy the coin, you get the rewards. With trader cashback, the rewards would be funneling to those who are trading the meme coins themselves. And then looking into actually how it would work, you got to go into the Pump.fun mobile app, create an account, head to your profile, you'll claim the rewards there. So it is unclear to me if you need to actually be trading the tokens themselves on the Pump.fun app, or if that's where you just go to get the rewards. And I have traded a few Pump.fun coins over the past day. So I'll try to do some boots on the ground investigation to figure this one out. But on that note, Logan, perhaps any reactions to this? I know you're still somewhat in the trenches.
Yeah, I'm half in, half out. Actually, probably more like 80-20. The 20 in, 80 out. I'm neutral on this. I'm all for trying to, regenerate, like, what does the proper incentive structure look like for folks in meme coins between the creators and or developers and those trading or creating a community around it. As Alan, he had a long post about this as well. I think he pointed out that they haven't been able to solve this, but it's like one of the things that they're thinking most about. Thus far, just giving rewards to like the person who creates a coin and then is perhaps done forever, just hasn't been the solution. So we'll see. My concern is that this. I don't know that how many conditionals you can put on the cashback stuff, right? Like, do you have to do an X amount of volume to earn it? Do you have to do X amount of trades to earn it? I'm not exactly sure what those variables are, but my concern is that this just generates a ton of additional volume, but doesn't necessarily mean number go up for tokens. Most of them are going to go to zero anyway, but we still need to see some tokens win in the trenches, and we don't really see that happen at all.
Pump down 5% on the day, not great. I saw fairly mixed sentiment. I'd actually say most of the sentiment I saw was negative, but you also have to take that with a grain of salt. I mean, the haters are always the loudest on the timeline. I think largely the pushback was saying that this just means the creators will bundle tokens more so that they can get more of the lion's share of the fees anyway, which this would incentivize. So look out for that. I mean, as for the trenches themselves, it hasn't been great. And I looked at the board this morning, as I always do. There weren't any runners over like 2 million. Like, I used to not even report anything if it didn't go to 10. That's impossible now for the most part. We've had a handful. Kimchi was the number one mover on like the back of the Doge ETF launch day, I suppose. It was mercilessly PvP'd and vamped. There were several coins, the top ones at 1.8 million. So not the best performance. And the weekend runner is just continuing to drop by 23 to 30% per day. And Automaton token got spun up last night and it's already back to zero, right? So like this is kind of the state. So you can to your point, Logan, you can adjust all these incentives and fee mechanisms you want, but at some point there has to be more consistent winning action, less hyper rotation, or it's the lower roller coaster loops are just going to continue.
Yeah, you're not changing anything, even though you've like changed the X and Y variables. The winners here are still the winners from the previous period, which is just the developers, just Pump, right? Like, you haven't distributed the wealth. I think what they're trying to do is redistribute the wealth a bit, right? Of course, just unable to do so right now, given the state of the market. So
I have an idea for how they could redistribute the wealth.
Airdrop.
Pump.fun airdrop. Well, let's check in on that. Pump.fun airdrop by December 2026, 27%. Oh no,
that's wild.
We're really just never going to give these tokens, huh? This shocks me.
I think I would be on the yes side here. I don't know anything, and I have not really been paying like super close attention to any of their announcements, which have come recently, aside from this one that we're talking about right now. But how do you go more than a full 18 months without dropping them?
That would be close to 18 months. Yeah, I think July.
How do you do that? Like, these folks are smarter than I am. They know what they're doing. So I'm not, it's tough for me to criticize too much here, but what's the rationale for waiting 18 months from it?
I don't know. Market conditions.
I guess.
They want perfect market conditions.
But market conditions were were they okay-ish around launch or no?
Yeah. It launched the summer was great in hindsight. And then October, and Bitcoin was 126K on October.
It's been a little different for Solana though. I mean, Solana,
yeah,
that's the other piece of this. I mean, if it's waiting for like some sort of Solana summer to heat up, I mean, we're $212 or something off the all-time high.
Yeah,
from January.
Solana was booming in September. It was back at 240.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
See, it's so long ago that I've already forgotten that we could have possibly been that high in September.
That does feel impossibly high for Solana.
$83. When I thought about buying a meme coin yesterday, and my wallet had like 0.1 Solana in it or something, and it was like $8. I was like, what the hell? I don't remember this.
It's not great. The last time Solana was this low was in December 23, when really the first big meme explosion. This was like the whiff days, right? Back when one Sol was $70-$80. It felt like play money in your wallet. Then it became very expensive. And then now, of course, full round trip. Well, let's continue working through the stories of the day. I think arguably another big one, and has led to a broader discussion about what is happening on base. So Zora, a marquee base app, announced they're moving on to Solana with their attention markets for trading internet trends. So we saw a couple weeks ago, Base kind of leaned away from creator fees and kind of focusing a little bit more on the agentic action. That was my interpretation. Seems like Zora has taken that and is, I don't know if pivot is the right word, but they are at least moving or expanding here onto Solana. So the way it works, anyone can pay one Sol to create a market, speculate on specific topics. So fairly similar to how Zora creator coins had worked over on Base. Anyone can launch these. You're kind of effectively wagering on, like, again, on attention, on viral trends. It looks like, though, according to this article, I've not dug into the data myself, not the best start. I think their top token reached 70K market cap, around 200,000 in volume.
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
Not booming by any means.
Yeah, I sort of like the product idea. So you can sort of see in that screenshot, and if you go to, like, I think wherever, Zora.com, it showcases that maybe a little bit better for you, so you can see it. I like you don't have to, basically they're creating baskets. Like, these are like little index funds of coins. And I believe, I'm not certain this is the case, but I believe that market cap representative there, which you see for the top one at 63.78, is the collective market cap across those coins. So, like, if you click into that, Tyler, I think it's going to show you like 15 or 16 different coins that are like $6,000 or $7,000 market cap, which is horrible, right? Very, very bad. But this is like trying to, dogs, for example, like we're talking about that, the Olympic runner dog. I'm not going to say the name so people don't go by the token, but that's all over my timeline, right? This is like, it makes sense. You don't have to worry about the PvP thing, right? Because all of those dog coins would theoretically get funneled into the same folder or category, and then you'd be rooted, it wouldn't matter which one went up. So I actually like that in terms of what's trending. I feel like personally as a trader, I would be better at identifying, okay, this dog thing is popping off on my timeline, I can just bet on the dog basket instead of trying to pick which specific dog token goes up. So I do like it in practice. It does not seem like it's being executed upon by traders thus far on chain.
Yeah, so I missed that aspect of it. So instead of trying to pick an individual dog coin of the day, you just pick dogs, and then
Right.
I mean, in theory, that you would think that would go well.
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's still like kinks here that I'm unaware of. Like what is maybe holding stuff back? I think you might have to like pay to throw a pair into the thing as well, which may be keeping some stuff back. I don't exactly know, some of the minor mechanics here, but it is really interesting. You can see, like, you can search, you can paste a link from TikTok and stuff to try to find things. I think it's an interesting, I would characterize this as a pivot from like individual coins, of course. I think it's a really interesting one. And for someone like myself that like wants to be in, but not all the way into the trenches, and like finding that one particular coin, this actually feels like a more approachable and easy way to participate. I can see that in theory.
In theory, it does.
Yes.
But not in practice, because the entire dog basket is worth $10,000. And if you did this on Solana just over the past day, dog coins that launched on Solana in the past day, it would be like 10 million.
Yeah.
So there's a several magnitude difference in interest in trading these on Zora versus the broader Solana meme market. So there's some kinks to be worked out, to say the least. Certainly an interesting idea here, but perhaps more interesting is there was a lot of FUD on the timeline yesterday. to the point I had multiple people sending me comments like, is base app shutting down? Like what is happening on base? And this comes after this post by Hish kind of outlines a lot of it. Originally, base app was going to be the mother of all super apps. They had Farcaster, Zora. Now Farcaster shut down. Now Zora is pivoting. So it raises the question of what's left. What is base trying to do? Or are they kind of like slowly shutting down? And I saw takes that they were actually just going to shut down the base L2, which felt fairly outlandish. And then so Brian Armstrong has responded saying he's going to take ownership of this. But those decisions are in the rear view mirror, and what they want to do now is focus on being the self-custodial version of Coinbase, trading focused.
And there's a pretty clear distinction here. I just want to make that the post here that you're referencing, which is largely factual, I believe. I did not read the entire post from Hish, but it is in regards to the base app, which is different from the base L2, right? Like when Brian talks about the fact that they're transitioning the base app to being the self-custodial version of Coinbase, that is literally talking about like the mobile application, right, that you can download and utilize, which is where they were leaning into Farcaster and Zora to try to get social use of that app. It doesn't have anything to do with like shutting off the base blockchain, which is a massive blockchain and, integral part, I would say, to the crypto ecosystem and on-chain economy at this point in time.
And it's a moneymaker. I think it's one of their 12 apps that's making $100 million in revenue. So good clarification there, Logan. To me, I think of base app, I think of the L2 is kind of the same thing. But yeah, he's talking about just the app here. So I mean, perhaps the questions of what the direction of the base L2 chain are still valid. With where they're leaning in.
Maybe. I do think Brian's response here, I can't really say it any better. I mean, and Jesse, I think, was responding to some stuff yesterday too. Yeah. Like they took a big swing at some of those things that they thought were going to be really important and were prioritized in 2025. Social was one of them. Creators was one of them. Those swings didn't connect. Whether it's because they're too early or the implementation was bad or whatever, they didn't land. That's for sure. And, so now they are sort of pivoting what that app, again, the base app, what the app is going to best be used for and what users can hopefully generate revenue for them. Right. And so it's going to be about trading the app itself. And Brian talked about the self-custody aspect, trying to make it a self-custody aspect of Coinbase as a priority. But I mean, this seemed like ridiculous FUD. I saw some too, and it wasn't from that original comment, but just, stuff about Zora leaving and the whole thing, just being on fire seems really, really silly.
You want to see how stablecoin volume trending on base. I'm going to check that real quick. And kind of grinding up, a little flat.
Yeah. And all that to say, that doesn't mean that the base app is going to be successful or that it hasn't been a failure thus far, because it probably has been a failure thus far. So some FUD, of course, warranted if you want to say that, hey, like they should have been able to do something and been at least moderately successful. But not FUD to the degree of like, hey, base is done. Like that's pretty wild.
I think if you're hoping for base to win or just continue grinding up to the right, I guess the leaning into the agentic on-chain commerce is your primary hope right now, right? It's like what else? Like when you think about base, the L2, like what do you think about? Zora's gone, Farcaster's gone. It's not a whole lot.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. From a consumer perspective, there was not a whole lot beyond those things, right? Beyond Farcaster, which was, of course, super entwined. Zora, yes, super entwined. Virtuals, right? Super entwined. Beyond those applications, I can't really even come up with anything for you, Tyler. Friendtech is long gone.
Friendtech.
I can't give you those, but institutionally, Aerodrome is massive, right? Like Like there's still so much money on the chain that it doesn't probably need the little consumer apps, and they were little, right? Relatively speaking, little consumer apps on the chain to be deemed successful.
I mean, if you look at what's still being traded, put wrapped Bitcoin aside, Conway token tied to Sigel's Web 4.0 launch, number one AI trending coin on Base. You had the VVV, the Andre Cronje's AI token, Virtuals is in there, Bankers in there. So it basically is all the agentic tokens, more so than Solana. So Base is having more success, and notably, like there were no Conway tokens on Solana yesterday. Base was the ecosystem where they were being traded. And this, just for clarity, Sigel has not endorsed or claimed the fees for that Conway token. So this is just a total meme coin that someone created, hoping he would claim the fees. So just be aware of that. But I mean, as for apps, I mean, Virtual's got to what, 4 billion? So I mean, that's a pretty successful app. So they have had some big winners. We'll see if they're able to run it back in AI 2.0. Speaking of AI 2.0, well, I don't know if I have I'll have to find the tweet here. But Logan, I know I pointed this out and you looked into this a little bit as well. Yuga leaning into AI agents and OpenClaw. So I saw this one kind of out of the blue yesterday. But Garga come out and saying, we hooked up some OpenClaw agents with codas and let them roam the other side. Each of them can navigate the world, keep tabs on who they meet, decide who's friends, and journal. And already one basically founded a religion in the first few hours of this. So curious if you had any reactions, if you dug into this much at all.
Yeah, the first thing that stood out to me was the religious point. You remember from the Molt book stuff, which I don't know that it was truly an agent or what, because there's a lot of FUD surrounding that. But it created a religion and tried to get all the other agents to join. That was the first thing that stood out to me. I was reading this article from Figgy about GoGo, which sort of discovered this bug, which felt like a light. There's like a quote in there. I saw something today, the underneath, it was beautiful. Not everyone will see it, but I do. And then the agent kept going back and tried to create a religion around it. Just comical to me. I think it's really cool that they're trying to, experiment, see what agents will do. I don't know that this means anything for the other side or that it matters. I mean, if we have like a million agents in the other side doing stuff, does it matter?
AGI in the other side. There you go. That's your pitch.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
Logan's not buying it, but it is fun. I was excited to see them leaning into it because it does make sense, right? Like this does feel like an interesting playground. I'm seeing if Coda's even caught a bid on the back of this. It doesn't really look like it. So not a whole lot of demand just yet for picking up a Coda to tie an OpenClaw agent into it and let it run around and form its own religion in the other side. We're still early, it seems. But a fun piece of news from Garga nonetheless. And that was kind of it. I don't know that I had a whole lot else on my roundup here from the day. I think we talked, the Peter Thiel one, just quickly. I know you've covered ETHZilla and the jet engine tokenization fairly at length. It was a big headline and one that kind of summarizes the state of the DATs. Looks like Peter Thiel and the Founders Fund didn't like that jet tokenization engine announcement. They may have front ran it. Yeah.
Their the 13F filing, of course, reports on the fourth quarter. That's when they got rid of all their stakes. So, front ran the jet engine tokenization stuff. If you remember, as far back to last summer, when it was announced that Peter Thiel had a 7.5% stake, the stock like tripled, like in 30 minutes of opening. And of course, since that time, has given back everything and more. Tough
times
here. I mean, still trying stuff, and they've been very active as far as DATs go, and Ethereum DATs in particular. They're not just buying ETH; they're not buying ETH right now, but they've sold They've done stock splits. They're doing the jet engine tokenization. So they're definitely trying. It's better than those probably just sitting on their hands.
They're in the arena. The other 13F, I know you're going to dig into some other 13Fs today for Decrypt, but we saw the Stanley Druckenmiller 13F, and it looked like he made some somewhat notable portfolio changes, rotation away from mega caps into financials, commodities, equal weight breadth, cyclicals, airlines, semis, energy transition, and selective biotech. So some big moves from Stanley Druckenmiller, largely thought of as one of the best investors. So I thought this was notable. Perhaps bad sign for the mega caps near term. They have been underperforming as of late. The airline stocks did surprise me a bit. So need to dig in this, but again, thought it would be notable for our audience to see. With that, let's do it. Let's give some money away. It is Weighted Wednesday here, so last chance to get in. If you haven't already entered that code, it is Weighted Wednesday. I'm seeing some questions. Is Yeet also exploring agents using the platform?
Unfortunately, we have to do KYC as we are a regulated entity, or have a license at least. I think there's a lot of decentralized platforms that don't operate like that.
So sorry, folks, but there is your answer. All right, there's our weighted wheel. All right, it's not it's not going to be a total domination. We've got a couple favorites, but a lot of folks are going to have a shot today. Producer Charlie, let's give it a spin. Oh. And the favorite one, Ecolando. All right, Ecolando, you are our winner. So check back in on Friday where we will doing our Mega Yeet action. I want to thank all of our listeners for tuning in here today. I want to thank you, Mando, Logan, for co-hosting. Folks, we'll be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. Until then, go have a beautiful day.